Time stops 40 man. What's up? First of all, thanks for the video response on this video and the other one. Just responded to this one because you asked some questions and I felt like I should give a response to this. First of all, I know you were Juggalo, so much clown love, homie, and thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. Addressing what you said first before answering any questions that you may have had, and I'm not going to rewatch the video, so if I don't answer any questions, I'm going to do my best to answer your questions, but if there's something I skip, my apologies, bro. But what you said about how people would force you to go to church, that's messed up, and this is precisely my issue with a lot of these religions is when it comes to the children. I see these religions out there, and I think it's perfectly fine for somebody to believe in something themselves, but the problem is it's pushed onto others. But even if it's kept within one tightly knit community, when it comes down to the children, they're not being given freedom to grow and explore for themselves because of the blind faith that these religions instill. And I think a lot of it is based on their concept of an afterlife. I don't mean any sort of afterlife, but a faith-based afterlife. Not, because if it was a values-based afterlife, which I believe is much more likely, and I think no sense of one judgment day. I think the problem with that is it gives us a sense of urgency to inflict our own ideals and our own philosophies as to what we believe onto others. And that really is harmful for the kids to tell them, if you don't believe this, you're going to burn for all eternity. That's why people stay so close-minded. It's because of fear, man. And let me tell you something. So these parents are probably afraid for their own kids, forcing them to go to church, hoping that they'll see some sort of light that isn't there. You know, so I think that's where my problem is. It's one thing to hold some sort of belief, but when it has such an idea, because these faiths want to grow, they want to gain power, and so when we have such an idea, they try to back it up by saying you have to believe this, because they cannot gain converts by logic, except maybe back then. But since they cannot gain their converts simply through logic and proven facts, or even any sort of true philosophy or some sort of inner self, inner spirituality, they instead get their converts by fear. And because the parents are afraid for their own children's souls, it continues on, and the ignorance continues through generations. When children, such as yourself, when you were forced to go to church, aren't given the freedom to explore for themselves. And luckily, I was never raised to believe in any sort of literal hell besides the hell that could be in your mind. But I can know how damaging that can be to a child. So to answer your question as to what Christian Science is, Christian Science is basically an attempt to do what Jesus did and to follow the example of Jesus. In Christian Science, they actually don't believe Jesus is God, but that he was sort of sent by God, that he himself was not the deity. We don't believe in the Trinity, or, well, I would say we because I used to be a Christian Scientist, so excuse me if I slip up and say that. But Christian Scientists, they don't believe in the Trinity. But what they do believe in is that Jesus was the highest human example of God, and the idea is to do exactly what Jesus did, because Jesus said, you can do greater works than I have. And so basically the idea is to follow the example of Jesus, and the idea is that you can perform said miracles that he did. Now that sounds crazy, but but then again, there have been people that have experienced demonstrations of it, and of course no one walked on water, but the idea is people have been able to have small healings. I personally have never had any luck trying to get small healings, and I've noticed all the healings I've had would have happened without any sort of deity, or they were solely internal. I think Christian Science for some people has helped them heal a lot in their own thought, but the problem is that they interpret some sort of deity. Once I was free from that, I did much better at keeping my thought in line, not because of fear of judgment from a God or fear of punishment for a God, but because I knew that I felt better because of it. And so now I think I'm doing it for the right reasons, being a better person and dealing with my issues. But I think back then, the problem is that I felt like I was given such a high standard of what to be based on Christian Science, as to someone like Jesus. So I felt pretty bad that I couldn't do that, that I had all these human emotions, and that's my problem with Christian Science is the human, that human emotions are considered bad, and we set such a high example. I think for some it may be considered humility, but for others I think it may lead to some form of living somewhat of a depressed life, thinking that you'll never be worthy, or thinking that you're doing something wrong because something's not healing, and because you can't heal when, to be honest, that's just the laws of the universe and the way things go. I think the problem with Christian Science is too much of an ideal, how things should ideally be, rather than accepting reality for what reality truly is, and working to live the best way possible in said reality. The problem is that it tries to create the illusion that that your thought controls reality, when really your thought only controls your actions, your own input into reality. It doesn't control the reality around you. All it does is help you get a better perspective on reality. And I think in that sense, Christian Science is very much correct in that our thoughts are very much powerful. The problem is that it gives our thoughts power that it doesn't actually have, instead of trying to do the best with the power it actually does have. And I found many inconsistencies. For example, someone would pray to heal acne, and then eventually it would go away because of prayer, but this is such a superficial prayer to have, to pray to get rid of acne. I never prayed to get rid of my acne, because I've felt like my acne didn't define who I am. And for some, they would say, oh, well, it doesn't define me, so I shouldn't have it. Well, to me, I said, my acne doesn't define who I am. So, you know what? I'm not going to give it the attention of trying to pray for it. And this is when I hold this theological perspective. I'm not going to work to pray for it because I don't want it. I don't care. It's not worth my time. I'd rather pray to get rid of these anger issues. And I did that not through prayer, but through long times, fixing my own thought. But that wasn't because of any deity, that wasn't because of God, and that wasn't because of Christian Science. As for why I was a part of Christian Science, it's because of how I was raised. My mom's a Christian Science, and my dad holds many beliefs that are similar to that of Christian Science, and he's sort of a mixture of, albeit a slightly more traditional view of Christianity, but even still close to Christian Science, and Buddhism. And my mom's a straight Christian Scientist, but she will she gave me all the medicine I needed, and that's my other big problem, is that the children in Christian Science in some cases don't get the medicine they need. And I know my mom gets upset when people say something about Christian Science parents being irresponsible, but it's irresponsible because this healing isn't proven to work. It's been demonstrated to work, but it isn't proven to work. And until it's proven to work, you got to give the kids the medical attention that they need. My old school offered Christian Science treatment rather than medical treatment. Later on, I made the choice that I wanted to go with Christian Science treatment if something went wrong. Now I know, what if something did go wrong? I would have been in trouble, and I would need my medical treatment. So, if there are any more questions you have, go ahead and ask. But I will post some links in the side of information about Christian Science. I think it does have something about it that is positive, and there is something, at least, to take from it in the high standard it sets. And I think if it were an ideal world, to create an ideal world, if it worked, Christian Science would be amazing. But unfortunately, I haven't found it to work. Much clown love, homie. Whoop whoop. Peace out.